How impressive can the scene be when a big shot gets out of prison after 7 years? He puts down his bag, takes out a bird, sweeps it across the gate, and even writes a note. Old B was here. Bear 2 runs eagerly but gets knocked down. Bear 1 steps forward and says, "Old B, you need to control yourself. You can't always be so mischievous." It turns out that 7 years ago, they stole a batch of jewels, which Old B then hid. Hearing that Old B is getting out today, Bear 1 and Bear 2 are here to split the loot. "So, when I was in prison, why didn't I see you guys being so eager?" Old B says, "Don't worry, let me do the math. Living expenses, mental fees, and inflation, I'll make sure you're all satisfied." To show fairness and justice, Old B gives Bear 1 a donkey punch. Now, both are even. Old B goes to meet a friend. A beautiful woman hugs him tightly, then she drives Old B's car. As the three admire from the window, a violent explosion occurs. It turns out it was Bear 1 and Bear 2's doing. Old B has to call a taxi. Unexpectedly, his house is on fire. In front of the house, a man is on the phone, praising how spectacular the fire is. Old B walks up and pats him on the shoulder. Old B calls his wife, asking, "Where are you now?" "I'm in bed sleeping." "The house is on fire, and you're still in bed?" "Then there's only one possibility. It's not our bed." Old B hangs up the phone, feeling like the grass is growing over his head. It feels like nowhere is safe. Old B finds his brother, who is now a missionary. "Why are you here?" "I got out. So soon." Why does that sound so awkward? After years in prison, Old B wants to start a new life, but first, he needs to find a place where no one can find him. Just out of prison, Old B is starving and eats all the rice crackers. He asks his brother for help. So, he ends up dressed like this. You know, it actually looks pretty good. His brother says there's a priest friend in the countryside, suggesting Old B go there under the guise of studying. His brother tells Old B a rule. No hitting people, no cursing, even if provoked. Yes. Old B packs his bags and sets off. He first buys a phone with the strongest signal and takes the high-speed train to his destination. Looking at the desolate scene before him, Old B feels it might be better to stay in prison. The driver greets him warmly. And he didn't let him pay the fare. Old B finally felt some human warmth. The car suddenly stopped on the road, and there were a lot of police officers standing in front. Oh no, could the driver have betrayed him? As he got out of the car, he warned the driver. Then, Old B got off the car, extended his hands to show he was ready to accept. Unexpectedly, they were all there to welcome him. Even the mayor came in person, and there was a round of enthusiastic applause. There was even a special children's choir, and the enthusiastic townspeople invited him to drink and celebrate. Then, they all went to the church, a tall and majestic building that showed the power of God. The big boss, just out of prison, disguised himself as a priest to escape his enemies and came to the countryside. After entering the church, he found that the previous priest had passed away. What should he do next? He didn't know, so he quickly sent the enthusiastic townspeople away, saying he needed to pray for the priest. Then, he hurriedly called his brother. "The friend you asked me to find is dead. The townspeople think I'm the successor. Isn't that perfect? You can stay. The problem is, I don't know how to do this job. It's simple. They just need some care." "Nonsense. What did you just say?" I said, "Oh, God." Old B was too lazy to argue with his brother and told him to go to their father's grave tomorrow morning. At night, Old B planned to leave. Unexpectedly, this place was so poor that the whole town didn't have a single vehicle. In the end, he got a bicycle and sped through the night. On the road, he encountered the town's police. Unexpectedly, the bicycle had no brakes and almost caused the police to meet their end early. He caught a cold and lied, saying he was exercising because it's good for the heart at night. The police said they were waiting for rescue. An old man had fallen off his bike by the roadside, and a branch had pierced his thigh. Old B hurriedly went to check. If he keeps bleeding like this, he'll be done for soon. He used a belt to tie off the thigh, pulled out the branch, put it in the old man's mouth, and after absorbing the blood, "Give me a gun." That priest. I think he can still be saved. After all, the old man can still talk. What I need is bullets. Oh, got it. Bite off the bullet head. Pour the gunpowder into the wound. Ignite it with a lighter. Then bandage the wound with a cardboard to secure it, and that's it. Old B planned to continue exercising, but the police forcibly put him in the car. "Your lousy bike doesn't even have brakes. If you fall into a ditch, who will save you?" "Boss, there's no license plate. How do we drive?" "What if the police catch us? What do we do?" "In the whole town, aren't we the only police? Who's going to catch you?" "Okay, got it." Even at the church entrance, he wouldn't get out of the car, insisting on taking him to the police station for a drink. Because after drinking high-proof liquor, Old B became mute. Indeed, he just arrived at the church and found Old B sleeping next to the coffin. Just told this Old B to keep vigil for the priest overnight. Everyone felt that Old B was indeed dedicated. While Old B was washing up, he received a call from his younger brother. "It's already 10 o'clock. Where are you?" I'm still in the countryside. Following old B's instructions, the younger brother took out the jewelry hidden in their father's coffin. At this time, the mayor came over and asked him to start the mass. As for how to do it, he had no idea, so he had to put on headphones and listen to his brother's guidance. Unexpectedly, before he could say much, his brother's phone suddenly ran out of battery. There was no choice but to improvise. Fortunately, no one noticed, and he even received unanimous praise from everyone. While old B was celebrating at the bar, his brother bought a power bank. Old B asked his brother to drive west to find his former gang brothers. The brotherhood will pay for the goods. Wait a moment, I'll come over to meet you. After saying this, old B hung up the phone. Normally, there's only one bus leaving the town at 1 o'clock in the afternoon every day. Old B looked and saw it was almost 12:60. Returning to the church, he hurriedly packed his luggage and was about to leave when a woman threw herself into his arms, insisting on confiding in old B. During the conversation, the only bus left, old B had to stay and listen to the woman. Her husband not only lazes around and drinks all day but also abuses her. After listening, old B beat up her husband. If my persuasion doesn't work, I'll come back tonight to try again. The woman asked how it went. She was a bit regretful. The woman happily kissed old B and said, "If you really want to thank me, let me drive your car." After old B hit the road, he sped all the way. Unexpectedly, at the turn, the police were repairing a car. Old B sharply turned the steering wheel and fell into a ditch. When old B woke up, he was taken to the police station again. At this time, his brother called again. He was already sitting opposite the gang leader. Old B told the gang leader, "My brother is a ruthless killer, and I'm just a small fry under him. Don't be fooled by his silly demeanor and lack of words. Once he takes action, you'll all meet the king of hell." Unexpectedly, this really intimidated the other party. Just as old B was about to quote a price, both parties' phones lost signal. Old B had no choice but to hang up. Meanwhile, the younger brother was waiting for the call. At this point, the gang started quoting their own price. The younger brother didn't know what to say, so he remained silent. The gang thought he was dissatisfied with the price and feared he might wipe them out, so they raised the price from 200,000 to 600,000. After the transaction was completed, the younger brother called old B. "Did you get the money?" "Yes, I did. That deal is worth at least 1.5 million. You didn't ask for less, did you?" The younger brother was stunned to hear 1.5 million. Then, he cried tears of joy. After that, he found 3 young ladies. Old B called his wife, asking her to come to town tomorrow to meet her. At this time, while old B was still sleeping, a large crowd had gathered at the door, all there to confess and pour out their hearts to him. The line outside the church was long. At this moment, the real priest arrived and immediately declared old B a fraud, then poured a bottle of cheap wine over him. When the police arrived and asked what was going on, the drunkard said, "I'm a fraud, and I just gave him a simple lesson." Then, the police gave him a lesson in return. Afterward, he was thrown out of the police station. He personally took a car to get there. Just as the two were about to kiss, a young man knocked on the door. It turned out he had fallen in love with a girl. Due to their different religious beliefs, their parents disapproved of the marriage. They all said the priest could perform miracles, so the young man came here. Old B went to the young man's house, but no matter what he said, the young man's father wouldn't agree. At this moment, the young man's grandfather came out. Unexpectedly, it was the person old B had saved that night. The grandfather told the father that no matter what old B said, he must agree to it. Then, they had a disagreement about where to hold the wedding. Old B stepped in with a long speech, and both parties were very satisfied with the outcome. The beaten priest went to the archbishop, spreading rumors that old B ruled the place with violence. The archbishop didn't believe the man's words and planned to check it out himself. When the wedding was about to start, the archbishop arrived at the door. The mayor held the archbishop's hand, thanking him for sending old B there. Then, everyone came over to offer their praise, and the younger brother arrived with a beautiful woman. Upon seeing this, it was clear they were indulging in powdered milk. Opened the cash box and found that it was old B who gave each young lady a bundle. "Thank them for bringing my brother here." Just as old B was about to leave, a newlywed couple came in and expressed their sincere gratitude to him. In the end, it was old B who took the stage, making it feel like a concert, high-fiving everyone in the front row. Then, holding the microphone, he shouted together, "Where's your applause? Where's your scream?" A heartfelt speech got everyone in the audience excited. The newlyweds' wedding was successfully completed. Just as they were about to leave, Shang Da and Shang found their way here. The two came to settle accounts, saying, "The jewelry is worth at least 105. You calculated it so accurately. So, how about we each take 500,000? Shang Da spent a long time on cloud computing, but it was Shang who readily agreed. In the end, they each took 500,000 and left happily. The archbishop felt that old B's hosting was very unconventional but also very interesting. At the end of the movie, old B and his wife came to the church again to hold another wedding. From then on, they lived a shamelessly happy life. The movie, The Missionary, ends here. A French comedy film from 209 years ago. The professional priest's brother got money and indulged in a life of debauchery. The amateur gangster brother, however, saved the lost souls of the townspeople. Truly French humor. Alright, if you want to see more great movie reviews, please follow me. Bye bye.
Yeah.